and they can walk in. Followed by PIHMS staff members. If I could get everyone to recognise the flags representing the countries of the PIHMS graduands, of which there are 19, I believe. Welcome in. Give us a moment to situate the flags. Please welcome the New Zealand Diploma in Hospitality Management students, Level 5 graduates, led in by Jason Tairafiti. Please welcome in the New Zealand Diploma in Hospitality Management Level 6 graduates, led in by Julie Ransfield. Please welcome in the Bachelor of Applied Hospitality and Tourism Management Level 7 graduates, led in by Marcus Hordelovich. Please welcome in the Postgraduate Diploma in Hotel Management Level 8 graduates, led in by Siddharth Baijal. And finally, welcome Master of Hotel Management Level 9 graduates, led in by Dr. Mike Potros. Interestingly, the person that he's leading is already here. Anyway, we follow protocol. I'd like to invite Kaumatua Hoani Erawati Hapu Opokitapu on stage to welcome the Assembly with karakia and whaikarero.
Tirama amai I rangi nui, tirama ki papatua nuku. Te whetu o te tauhou ko puanga nui a rangi tērā. Noho wānanga ki roto.
Can stay back, it's okay.
Oh. Te aki mahana ki waho. Te huinga whetū, te huinga tangata, a tihei mauri ora. The starlight from the celestial, the starlight to the terrestrial, to our Mother Earth. This is the time of the Māori New Year, and the star is called, it's known as Rigel. It's just above the pot, Orion's belt. This is a time to be inside, to learn and share. This is also the time to take care of your health. And this is the constellations of all the stars and also the constellations of all the people. Therefore, let us breathe in the essence of life. So on this Māori New Year, with this graduation, on behalf of the hapu, the local Māori community, we greet you all. We greet you all into this new year, and especially the families that have come afar to support your children. And of course to all you graduates who have done very well. So greetings to you. So on behalf of the hapu, I say no mai, hara mai, tau mai. Welcome once, welcome twice, welcome 3 times. Tēnā koutou. Tiane te ati awa, iti te rahi te katoa, iwi o te motu iara, mana ki tia, iwi, i te katoa, ku tuku atu e te rungai ana, hip hei, rungai ana ma tika. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
If I could ask everyone to remain standing to hopefully sing the national anthem.
There
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the PIHMS 47th graduation ceremony for 2022. Graduation is live streamed across the globe, so I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our friends and whānau family across the globe. I know they're watching, so in particular, kia ora to Sadhna and Rita in the team in the office. They should be in the office by now. Jennifer and Helena in China. Nan and the team in Vietnam all typically tune into this graduation. It's good that we can all share this at the same time globally. Welcome to PIHMS owners, directors, and to all PIHMS staff members. A very warm welcome to members from our Industry Advisory Board who support us tirelessly over the years and listen to all our gripes and demands and try and satisfy those things for us. Hapu Pukutapu, again welcome. Thank you for supporting us. His Excellency Mr. Nguyen Van Tung, Ambassador for the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Mr. No Si Tan, Second Secretary, Embassy of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Representing the Royal Thai Embassy, Mr. V. Chansa Ngave. Her Excellency Mrs. Vience Mariche Swabu, Ambassador for the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia. Mrs. R. Dek Triana Yudhaswari, Minister, Councillor for the Embassy of Republic of Indonesia. Representing the High Commission of Papua New Guinea, Acting High Commissioner Jonathan Kidu. Member of Parliament for New Plymouth, Glenn Bennett, sends his apologies and good wishes to all graduates. Representing 6-star scholarships for our students, Don Hardman, and a valuable business partner of New Zealand, of the PIHMS, this is now Blanchard. It's also my pleasure to welcome our guest speaker for today, Lisa Tamati. But finally, the most important people in the room, a big welcome to our graduates today. Enjoy the day and the night. I'm sure it's going to happen as well. It's now that I'd like to invite Peter Rogers, the chairman of the PIHMS Board of Directors, to the stage to deliver his welcome speech. Just put a line through that because we stay on after.
It's my pleasure to welcome guests, parents, grandparents and families, members from around the world to PIHMS and to this graduation ceremony. To the students, a special welcome to this joyous occasion on the completion of your studies and the culmination of all that hard work. You should reflect on your achievement at your capping today, as this will be a milestone in your life never to be forgotten. I would also welcome those viewers from around the world who are watching this ceremony being live streamed. It has been some time since our last graduation, and since then we have watched the development of a new virus, COVID-19, which has been a major, once-in-a-lifetime event. Little did we know the impact it would have on the world, our country, and PIHMS. As time went on, the enormity of the issues became apparent, and government, along with their health advisors, struggled to find answers and the best way of dealing with things. There were many and a diverse range of strategies adopted, the cost in lives and the economy began to grow and be counted. What I wanted to focus on is the will of individuals and those students that never lost hope and carried on and never lost sight of what they were here to achieve. The difficulties on all staff, the mode of teaching, and the use of technology all came to the fore. But it was you, the students, who battled on, and we witnessed the results of those amazing sacrifices and efforts here today. I dare say you will never forget your last days at PIHMS. As with all significant events and developments, we should take the experiences that we have had over the last 2 years, reflect on them, and take the learning forward with us in our lives and our workplaces. It is the difficult changes that ultimately make us stronger and better people in the future. And so too it is with an organisation like PIHMS. These then become the real events that shape our lives. At the heart of this thinking is our response to change, and we here at PIHMS had to come to grips with the size, enormity and severity of what we had to do. We gave a lot of thought to the thinking of Charles Handy, which many of you will know, a futurist, and his story of the boiled frog, which again many of you will remember. The story goes a tribe of South American Indians had learnt how to boil their frogs, of which they had an abundant supply. The Indian chef would pop a king-size frog into a pot of water, which was then heated up on the traditional barbecue. For reasons to do with frogs' physiology, and the frog just got more and more comfortable as the water warmed up. Eventually, the hapless creature was, well, I can't put it any less cruelly, boiled. Now here is the bit that people remember. Suppose you took another frog and dropped it into a cooking pot, this time of boiling water. What happened next? The frog jumped out. The moral of the story is that you can become too comfortable in your environment if your environment is gradually changing. Eventually, you will be eaten by the members of an unnamed South American tribe. But a sharp jolt, however unpleasant, may be what's good for you, and you may hop away a bit overheated, but surviving the future. The essence of the insight by Charles Handy was people only accept change when they are faced with necessity, and they only recognise necessity when a crisis is upon them. So PIHMS, the organisation, had to respond to the events occurring around us. Politicians who at the time seemed unsure of what was the right thing to do, a new disease, an economy which was inflated, fuelled and likely to go into recession, and border issues. While all this was going on, education and health reforms were announced along with water infrastructure. Lost revenue and pressure on finances meant that hard decisions had to be taken. We are moving from slow and controlled change to large and disruptive change. I'm very pleased to say that as a result of hard analysis, many large and significant decisions were made. I believe we are now in a stronger organisation, able to stand many pressures that come to challenge us. We also learn from such difficult positions we often find ourselves in. Our decision to recognise we were dealing with disruptive change resulted in the right judgments being made, and we will now move forward as a strong, changed organisation. I've taken the time to highlight this as I know you will have to the students, I know you will have very disruptive changes in your lives at some time, and you will be the ones that people will look to to provide leadership and strategies to manage those changes in your organisations. Those that make the hard decisions are likely to be the winners in a competitive environment. Your success is not achieved without the support of your families. It is their guidance and direction, resources, and wanting you to be the best you can be. All parents have dreams and aspirations for their sons and daughters, and you are an embodiment of those hopes. Their dreams are not for themselves, but for you, and they have now presented you with an opportunity to do what you will with. They have got you to the starting line. At this point, I would just like to digress. I'd like all of the staff to rise and stand, please. And I would like the students and the people here in the audience to give them a clap and a thank you for the contribution they made during incredibly hard times, and I know that everyone is grateful for your efforts, so thank you. I will now ask the students to stand. It's your turn. You have succeeded in a most challenging environment, and again, I would like to congratulate you. I'd like everyone here to say, well done. Please don't lose touch with your friends you have made here, and there is an alumni organisation at PIHMS to assist you with this. This is the start of your networking and careers. Remember, you are on the beginning step of a professional career, not just a job, and that needs refreshing, looking after, and building on. Pay attention to the experiences you have and build on them to move you forward in developing a strong sense of professionalism. As someone once said, good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. However, today is about reflection on a job well done and celebration of your hard work and achievement. This day will remain with you forever, and we at PIHMS thank you for allowing us to enter your lives and contribute in the small way to that success. Good luck, keep in touch, and wherever you may be in the world, we wish you every good luck. Tēnā koutou, katoa.
Eventually I'm going to need another chair up here if that can happen over the next wee while. But before introducing our guest speaker, due to travel timings, I'd like to take this opportunity to bring Don Hardman to the stage to present a small award to each of our 6-star scholarship students. Don and 6-star have been strong supporters of PIHMS, providing invaluable financial assistance through a scholarship program. 6-star set up in 2009 and is funded by a philanthropic charitable trust, a group of New Zealand hospitality industry leaders who want to help create more stars and raise professional standards and take the industry forward. So Don, if you could please come up to the stage.
Kia ora tātou, ngā mihi, Georgia singing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the board and to the executive of the Pacific International Management School for the opportunity to represent my trust here, the Philanthropic Charitable Trust. We run the program called 6-Star, which funds scholarships for students attending this college. And this year we have a group coming through, it's quite a large group, and it's my pleasure and privilege to represent the Trust in handing them awards and pins to acknowledge the achievement that they've made. It's a very great step, having the discipline to work their way through to achieve their scholastic outcomes, and then to make the first steps into development of a career. I was very heartened to receive an email from one of the group last night talking about what it meant for him and what his aims and objectives were for the future. That was very encouraging, and I had the greatest pleasure of circulating that to my board, and they were all thrilled. So we're very grateful for that, and we'd love to have feedback from you as you go forward in your career. But thank you now for this chance.
Simon.
Can I call forward Simon Foster, please? Anthony, would you please come forward? Anthony, I knew it was you when I saw you in the hallway. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very
All
much.
the very best.
Thank you.
Oh, well, yeah. I suppose you can. Now, the next one is a challenge in pronunciation. Kitana Waimarangi Sandsgage, would you please step forward? If you're here. Well, not here. Okay, I'll give that to you. Thanks. Equally demanding, Demi Susada Silvanonian. I beg your pardon for mispronouncing that. This is a much easier one for a southerner like me. Daniel McKenna, please. And could I call forward, please, Sophie Alka? Farron Nell, would you like to step forward, please? And last, by no means least, Amy Simpson, would you please come forward? Terima kasih, and Your Excellency, Selamat siang. And thank you very much.
Don't take that away.
Oh, no, okay, you can have that. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. He's a busy man. It's now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. Honestly, I felt like I had to go out and put in some serious training just to get through her bio. Arguably best known for her ultra-endurance performances around the globe, Lisa has gone on to become a motivational speaker, successful author, successful businesswoman, New Zealand representative in 24-hour events, and achieved the prestigious title of Māori Sportswoman of the Year, not to mention the many challenges she's successfully overcome in her personal life. It's my pleasure to introduce Taranaki's own Lisa Tamati.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Lisa Tamati taku ingoa, ko Pukitapu taku iwi, taku hapu, and ko Te Aotearoa taku iwi. Ngā mihi, thank you for that wonderful welcome. Wonderful to be here speaking to you all, to the graduates. This is your day. It's really fabulous and such an honour and a privilege to be welcomed onto the stage to hopefully share with you a little bit of motivation and encouragement as you go out into the workforce, into your new careers. And just well done. Congratulations for seeing things through. This has been a tough time in the world. We know we've had many, many challenges to overcome. So to actually get to the finish line of your qualifications and to start your careers is already a massive achievement. So well done to you. Now, I want to share with you a little bit today some funny running stories. So I'm an ultra marathon runner. So this is going to be a little bit left field. Have I got any runners in the audience? I know I met one before. Anyone else is a runner? We've got a couple at the back. Okay. We've got a few runners in the audience. So I'm an ultra marathon runner. So what does that mean? It's somebody who does extremely long distances. So this is anything from 50 kilometres up to hundreds of kilometres and even thousands of kilometres for races that go right across continents. And typically these races are done in places like the Sahara or the Himalayas. And I've had the privilege in my 25-year-long career of running pretty much everywhere on the planet. I've done over 70,000 kilometres in that time. I've done the Moroccan Sahara twice, the Arabian Desert, the Libyan Desert, Niger, Jordan, the Gobi Desert in China, Death Valley in the USA a couple of times, different parts of the outback of Australia. And at one point I ran right through New Zealand for charity for Cure Kids and Canteen, doing 2,250 kilometres in 42 days, which nearly bloody killed me, I can tell you. And had lots and lots of adventures along the way, lots of successes and also lots of failures. And I want to share a little bit the learnings from that. Now, I know that you're not all going to be passionate runners out there, but I want you to take away some of the learnings that I want to share with you today, because there are so many correlations between ultramarathon running and life, and some of the stuff that gets thrown at us and how to dodge obstacles and overcome problems. So I hope that you'll be able to take some learnings away from that. Does that sound good? Right, now I'm going to share with you a story. This one was a race that I did in a place called Death Valley in the USA. Now this is a very famous race if you're an ultramarathon runner, and let's be honest, we're a weird bunch of people, but we do have this one race that is sort of the unofficial world champs of our sport. It's 217 kilometres long, and it goes through the hottest desert on Earth. So we have temperatures up to 57 degrees. Now, to get a slot in this race, you might think, who the heck would want to do such a thing? But I can assure you there are actually thousands of people every year that apply to go and do this race, and only a handful are chosen. You have to have a CV pretty much as long as your arm in order to get a slot. And a number of years ago, I was one of the the privileged few to get a slot in this race. So I got to go over. Now this had a bit of a backstory. I'd been wanting to do this race for over 13 years at that point. I'd had a boyfriend in my early life who was, shall we say, not very nice, and it was a bit of an abusive relationship. But he had always told me I was useless at running, and he had cycled through Death Valley in the middle of summer, and he used to always skite about how he'd cycled through this credible desert in the middle of the summer, and he used to tell me all the time how hopeless I was and that I would never amount to anything. And so I managed to get rid of that boyfriend, right? But it always sort of stuck in my head, one day I'm going to prove to you that I'm not useless at running and I'm going to run through Death Valley. And so now I had the chance, and it took me 13 years to qualify to get there. And so I'm going to share a little video clip with you in a moment about this race. Now, on this race, you're starting below sea level, and then you've got these two massive passes in the middle, and then you're finishing up on a place called Mount Whitney at 2,500 metres, sort of similar to our maunga here. So you've got heat, you've got 217 kilometres that you're running, and you've got these big mountains, and you've got to sort of overcome all these obstacles. So I'd like to share with you that little video clip and then share with you some of the learnings. So if you don't mind, guys, to sit back, relax, and enjoy this little video clip for a moment.
The Badwater Basin is pretty much the closest place to hell anywhere on the planet. It sits 85 metres below sea level, the air temperature here up to 57 degrees. The road through hell, if you're prepared to run it, is 217 kilometres long. When Lisa Tamati broke her back at 21, doctors told her to go easy on the running. So since then, she's run across the Moroccan Sahara twice, run 170k across the desert in Jordan, and narrowly survived kayaking down the Alaskan Yukon. Crossing the Libyan desert, she damaged her kidneys and all the upper body nerves in her shoulders. And in this heat, these ultra-endurance athletes are asked to run a seemingly impossible 217 kilometres. Over the course of this race, they'll climb higher than Mount Cook. More people have conquered Mount Everest than have finished this race.
Yeah. Sandy's mice. Sandy. Sandy. And water, and water.
It's awesome, this race.
This heat can kill the unprepared. They don't call it Death Valley for nothing.
And I'm slowly coming right now. We're heading up a whopping great path. And that's part of the highs and lows, you know. We just got to try to get through the lows and not chuck it in.
Sun's gone now though.
Sun's gone, I'm still bloody hot.
If you imagine getting up for work on a Monday morning and just starting jogging or a little bit of walking, and then 2 days later you still possibly haven't got to your destination. On top of that, imagine that you're doing it in your oven. If you imagine doing all of that and climbing Mount Taranaki a couple of times in the middle, then you'd be getting close to what she's been through.
Is she met?
She's different.
From 85 metres below sea level 34 hours ago to the foot of Mount Whitney, and arguably one of the toughest finishes in world sport.
Well, she's going to be on a gradient of about 17% at times, and it's going to be another half marathon for her to get to the top.
After having already done 5 marathons, of course.
Already having done 5 marathons.
Shattered but happy at the moment. a time for me that I never thought possible is on the cards if I can hold it together for another 5 hours. So.
At 2 o'clock in the morning, 38 hours after they started, Team Tamati emerged from the dark 10 hours ahead of what they had hoped.
I did it.
And you blew it right out of the water as well. You killed it. You killed it.
Oh, you did it all right. You're a queen. You're just such a queen.
Number 9. I'm not really sure if it was worth it the second time round to improve by 1 hour and get a slightly better ranking, but I did have lots of fun on the second time as well. The second time I remember going out too hard, and I ended up at about the 70k point, and I was heading up this mountain, and I had heat stroke, and I kept passing out, and I had a friend, Megan, who was a paramedic, and she would put me back up on my feet, and I'd toddle on again. And at one point, Megan is a paramedic, right, and she was holding me on the arm because I was very wobbly at this stage, and all of a sudden she throws me on the ground, and I'm like lying on the ground going, "Why did you throw me on the ground for?" And she's going, "Look over there, there's a rattlesnake coiled up on the ground, you're about to step on it, so I had to save your life." And I'm going, "Oh, whatever, carry on." I didn't really care at this point, I was in so much pain and suffering, you know. And then when we were getting towards the end of that second time of the race, we were coming up to Mount Whitney, and there was a big massive forest fire. The whole mountain was sort of on fire, and we were going towards this. Now, I come from a family of firefighters. My father, my brother, my husband are all firefighters, and they've always said if there's a forest fire, run the other way as quickly as you can, and here we are running towards it. And then there were these sirens coming, and you know, police, and saying, "Oh, we've got to get you all off the road, we're going to cancel the race, we're going to take you off the road," right? And I've been running for 30-something hours at this point, and I'm usually a very law-abiding citizen, but this time I did a runner from the cops, and I managed to get to the finish line before they actually stopped the race, and that was the second year, getting across the line at Death Valley. You know what, and when you cross the line at something like this, that's the culmination of years and years of dedication. Now, there's no big stadiums shouting your name, there's no Olympic gold medals in our sport because we're a bunch of weirdos, eccentric types doing this sort of weird stuff, right? But it's an achievement that you set out to do. That's a goal that you set for yourself, and it took you years to achieve, and it was very, very difficult. And when you cross that finish line, that's a moment that you will never forget. And this, you guys who are graduating today, is a moment you will never forget. This represents to you, you crossing that finish line. I want you to see you going through that thing, and you're full of tears and you're full of emotion, and you're so, so pleased. Now, what you didn't see so much there was the team that was behind me. The team that I stood on their shoulders in order to get across the finish line. They were absolutely amazing. They sacrificed everything to help me get there, and that's what your staff represent. That's what your family represent to you. You may have got across the finish line, but it's the staff, it's the people in behind you that got you there. So don't ever forget where you came from. Don't ever forget the people that helped you to get where you got to. And I will never forget what my team did for me to help me cross that finish line. And another thing, when you cross the finish line from something like that, it changes your perspective on what you are capable of. I bet a few years ago, before you achieved this great thing that you have now achieved, you would have thought, I can't do that. Who am I? I'm not good enough for that. I'm not bright enough for that. I bet a lot of you had that sort of conversation going on in your head. And as you just went through the process, you grew into that role. And it's the same thing with ultramarathoning. I didn't start out one day and go, I'm going to run hundreds of kilometres across deserts and conquer all these things. I grew into this role over time and with the help of many people. And I had many failures along along the way, and they hurt, but every failure that I had enabled me to stand up again with a little bit more wisdom, a little bit more experience. And you know, the other thing that's really funny about my story is that I had absolutely no talent as a runner, and I still have no talent as a runner, and people laugh when I say that. But I was never fast. I was an asthmatic. Since little childhood, I was in and out of hospital. I had a very small lung capacity. I have a very low VO2 max. And I remember at one stage going, before Death Valley actually, I went up to Auckland to the university and they did a whole lot of tests on me to see, you know, what would this ultramarathon runner be all about. Now they did all these VO2 max tests on me and everything, and they came out and they said, well, actually, you're very below average. And if you were a young person coming to see whether you're suited to this career, we'd tell you to go and find another job. And I said, well, luckily nobody told me that because I got to number 9 in the world. And that should be a lesson to you. It is not about your talent. It is not about your body shape, your size, your ethnicity, your religion, any other thing than what you have up here. It is what you decide you are going to become, is what you can become. And you will have to understand that there will be a fight and there will be obstacles to overcome. But if you are willing to go through whatever it takes to reach your goals, then you can become anything in this world. And I truly am a believer of that. And I'm living proof of that because I had no ability and I did do some pretty amazing things. I want to share with you now another story. And this one is actually nothing about running. This one I want to share with you though, because it sort of brings together a lot of the messages that I would really like to impart to you young people, especially today, but to everybody sitting here in the audience. About 6 years ago, my mum, who's always been the rock of my life, the most amazing, incredible woman, who was always there for me through thick and thin, the most amazing lady, she had a massive aneurysm one day. She was at home and I got that phone call. She'd collapsed and she was rushed to the hospital, that phone call that we all dread. And I got this phone call, get up to the hospital, mum's collapsed, we don't know what's happened. I race up to the hospital, I get there, and they tell me, we think she's having a migraine. Now the ambulance driver had said to the doctor, I think she's having a stroke or a neurological event, but he decided to ignore the ambulance driver. We were left there for 6 hours in ED, and my mum had this incredibly terrible, terrible headache, but beyond the normal sort of stuff, like screaming pain. And they left us there for 6 hours. And in this time, I didn't know what to ask for. I knew something major was wrong, but I didn't know anything about anything. And I just trusted that they would do whatever needed to be done. I ended up desperate enough that I actually rang my friend Megan, who's the one that saved me from the rattlesnake, and I said, can you please come up here and talk to the doctors because I know there's something going on. There's something more than a migraine here and I really need your help. She came up, she took one look at mum and said she's having a stroke or an aneurysm. Went to the doctor and said, get this woman a CT scan now. And after 6 hours, he relented and we finally got a CT scan. And it came back that she had a massive aneurysm, a massive bleed in the brain. And the blood was right throughout the brain. At this point, they didn't think she was going to survive, but they decided to take her to Wellington. And in this moment, I decided, in this medical mishap that we just experienced, I was not going to just be a quiet bystander anymore. I was going to take as much control as I possibly could. And I couldn't take much control in this critical situation, but I vowed that I would do whatever it took to get her back if I was given a chance. And I remember my dad coming over to me, who has been married to my mum for 55 years, and said, we better start preparing for the funeral. And I said, Dad, she is breathing, she's alive, and we're going to fight with everything we have to get her back as a family. I want you to go and get my brothers, and I want you to get down to Wellington. When people are in an emergency, you give them jobs to do. Get their brain thinking so they have to be doing something. My dad got in the car with my brothers, they raced to Wellington. I stayed with my mum for another 12 hours. We had to wait for the air ambulance to get us down to Wellington, and they did put her into surgery, and we had a stent put in where they started to drain off the blood. From this point on, she was in critical condition for the next 3 weeks, in and out of coma. The surgeons did an amazing job. They did a surgery on her, a coiling surgery, in which she had another stroke. And so in this time, my mum was going in and out of consciousness, and she was losing more and more of her brain as the time went on, and the swelling and the inflammation and the stroke happened, etc., etc. And in this time, I am studying everything I possibly can about aneurysms and strokes with the same dedication that I took to my running. Now, I had no medical background, but in this time, I started to make sure that I knew what the doctors were doing and what they were giving her and so on and so forth. And I was a pain in the butt to the doctors, I can tell you. After 3.5 weeks, she came out of this critical phase and she survived, and they did a wonderful job. And they stabilised her. But she was now 74 years old, massive brain damage, and she was like a baby. She had hardly any higher function left. We were transferred back to New Plymouth, and we were given 3 months in the hospital, and during that time they tried to do rehab, but there was just not a heck of a lot there, and they said to me, your mother is like a baby, she's 24/7 around the clock care, there is no hope for her, there is no way for her to come back. Now, as an ultramarathon athlete, I've always been told, you can't do that, you can't run across Death Valley, it's impossible, you can't run this business, you can't do this. And so I never believe people when they tell me I can't do something. I only ever listen to the people who tell me, yes, you can, and here's how. So I started to look outside the box, and I started to study things. And I came across, the very first thing I worked out was that she had sleep apnea. And I went to the doctors, I said, I want a sleep apnea assessment, I don't think she's breathing, and I thought that's knocking off more brain cells. They refused to do it. I brought in an outside consultant, we did the test, it came back, she had severe sleep apnea. Now that was the first one that I had. Because when we got onto a sleep apnea machine, then she started to get oxygen. Then she started to have a little bit more brain function and a little bit. So that was my very first battle. After 3 months, I battled hard to get her to take her home. She'd stabilised enough, they wanted to put her into an institution, and I refused because I believe that my mother belongs in our family and that we can care for her, and as a family we were strong enough and able to do that. In this time, I'd studied something called hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Now, this is used overseas for brain injuries, but it's not used in New Zealand for brain injuries. They have it in Auckland and Wellington, Christchurch, hospitals, but they only use it for gangrene and burns and these types of things. But I did the research, and I knew that this was the only thing that I had. I went to a commercial dive company and I said, can I use your hyperbaric chamber? Here's my research, here's all the evidence, here's my situation. And I signed a legal waiver and I was able to get access to a hyperbaric chamber. We took my mum down, we did these 33 sessions, and my mum started to wake up and to respond. Now, she didn't just get up and start walking, but she started to try to talk. She was moving her hands, and I could see a flicker of intelligence. So then I went, what else can I do? And I started to study everything else that I could possibly do. I ended up buying a hyperbaric chamber. I actually opened a clinic with one. I put her through 250 sessions over the next few years, and I started to stay ahead of her in her rehabilitation. I studied functional neurology, epigenetics, DNA testing, keto diet, supplements, you name it, I studied it. 2.5 years it took me to take her from being like a baby, thousands and thousands of hours of training, to being a fully independent woman again with her full driver's license, her full power of attorney, going to the gym 5 days a week, doesn't she? and having her full life back. And the doctors were absolutely stunned at this medical miracle. That was not a miracle. It was a miracle of persistence, resilience, looking outside the box and fighting like hell, and having a team and a family behind it. Now, I'd like to share just one little video clip if I can. Please meet my beautiful mum, Isabel. Go.
Mummy's learning to run. Go, go, Mummy, go, go, go. That's awesome. Keep running, keep running. Keep those arms marching and running. Good job, good job.
Just so glad they never gave up on me and I've got my life back.
I've actually written a book about this journey back called Relentless, and relentless it was, you had to be in order to get her back. Unfortunately, my mum has now been faced with a cancer diagnosis and we were told that she'd be gone by last Christmas. I did the same thing again and I went to the science, I went to the studies. We're now 10 months into it and the cancer's gone. What I want you to learn from this story is one about never giving up on your dreams, your goals, and when you are motivated by love, and when you are motivated by goals, you can achieve incredible things that people will think are impossible. They're humanly possible to run those sorts of distances. It's impossible for someone with such a brain injury to come back. It's impossible with you with cancer to survive this cancer. It's not always true. It's not always that that person knows. And what I want you to take away, you graduates today, is that you have an incredible life ahead of you. You've been through some tough times, no doubt, in the last couple of years. The whole school will have been. And we all have, as a nation and as a world. But we will come through this stronger and more powerful, more experienced, with more wisdom, and you young people will go through and have a fabulous career. And I wish you all the absolute best, and I thank you for your attention today. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa, for those inspirational words, and I can certainly concur with that. I remember the euphoria and sense of achievement that I felt when I crossed the line of my first 2K. So now it's time to confer the conferment of the qualifications. I'd like to invite Peter Rogers, the chairman of the board, and to the rostrum today to confer the qualifications of the PIHMS programs. Let's go through that one there and then invite these guys up.
Okay. The Board of Directors of the Pacific International Hotel Management School is empowered by the New Zealand Qualifications Authority and other international institutions to confer degrees and diplomas on those having completed the required course of instruction and having passed the qualifying exams of the school. I would like to ask the graduates of the New Zealand Diploma in Hospitality Management, Level 5, to come forward to receive your diplomas.
Thanks. If I can ask Dr. Potros to come assist Peter Rogers. Could I also ask the year coordinator, Marcus Hodelovich, to come and assist with the presentation and the exciting name reading.
It is my pleasure to announce the graduates of the New Zealand Diploma in Hospitality Management Level 5. Sarah Armstrong, with distinction. Milana Shah with distinction. Maria Artua. Taylor Chatfield with distinction. You want to have a photo?
Sorry.
Ethan Corey, merit. Luke Hassan, distinction. Orash Irani. Vikum Kaduge with distinction. Rachel Leach. Charlotte O'Mahony with merit. Hazel Pham, distinction. Elise Price, merit. Kimberly Queck, distinction. Michaela Reed, distinction. Rampal Singh. Tevai Takiari. Zach Wilson, distinction. Following students graduate in absentia: Jamie Beckham, merit; Jessica Bui, distinction; Emily Bird; Kerry Cow; Shihan Gamage, distinction; Michael Dow, merit; Brianna Ferreira, distinction; Siddharth Gulati; Melody Hung, merit; Nazarel Ioani, distinction; Lachlan Kettlewell, merit; Jana Kirsanova, distinction; Tsung Tuan Lei; Newton Lee Nguyen, merit; Carl Lee; Wenting Lee, merit; Linda Liu; Clarice Luong, distinction; Jane Ma; Abby Melvin, merit; Stephanie Morris, distinction; Max Murphy; Lucy Nyo, distinction; Tracy Nguyen, merit; Kien Trang Nguyen, merit; Chloe Nguyen, distinction; Sebastian Needham, distinction; Bailey O'Connell; Oliver Pham; Crystal P., merit; Tiffany Pucarta, distinction; Aaron Kin; Jade Reeves; Arshdeep Singh; Jennifer Stent; Margaret Sukkel, distinction; Pamuditya Uchida; Hridesh Upadhyay, merit; Ashley Wu, distinction; Marcus Wong; Helen Wang, merit; Ryan Wang; Annalise Werner, distinction; Daniel Wren, distinction. Following students also got the diploma in level 5, but also get the level 6, and I will ask them to come later on up onto stage with the level 6 students. Raj Chauhan, Niraj Dave, David Price, Dakshata Rani, Caitlin Taramei, Anaga Taresha, Albert Vichaya. Following students have the level 5 as well, will graduate with the degree. Hannah Beck Smith with distinction, Henao Iduhu, distinction, June Liu, merit, Andy Nguyen, distinction, Bruce Su, pass. Well done, congratulations.
Peter, I'll just get you to announce and call up the level 6 diploma. I'll get you to announce and call up the level 6 that we just done the level 5. Now announce the level 6 and we'll get it.
I would like to ask the graduates of the New Zealand Diploma in Hospitality Management Level 6 to come forward to receive your diplomas.
Just keep going out of the box, Peter. Keep going out of that box and just grab those diplomas and open.
Level 6 diploma. Brittany Barker, merit. Paige Brown, distinction. Raj Chauhan. Niraj Dave. Jalisha Jerome, merit. David Price, merit. Dakshata Rani. Aryan Sharma. Caitlin Taramay. Anaga Taresha. Shay Tyler with merit. Albert Vijaya, merit. Following students have the level 6 diploma as well, but will also graduate with the degree today. Aman Anand, Jesse Brooks, merit. Jason Bui, merit. Thea Bui, distinction. Florence Doe, merit. Jason Donaldson, merit. Jason Duong, distinction. Benjamin Faulkner. Emma Françoise, merit. Caitlin Gutcher, merit. Blaise Higgison, merit. Nero Hu, merit. Sophie Ching, An Bao Fu Kao, Anthony Kim, Tracy Lei, Lini Liam, merit. Cheyenne Lil Andrews, Farron Nell, merit. Peter Nguyen, merit. Yen Nguyen, merit. Yesaya Putra, distinction. Voracek Saharak, merit. Bhavya Sharma, merit. Vijal Shetty, Demi Silvenoinen, merit. Amy Simpson, distinction. Laura Spears. Amika van der Broek, distinction. Minuri Velgama, distinction. Sidonia West, merit. Amanda Sen, distinction. Following students graduate in absentia. Kashish Ahuya, merit. Crystal Couchman. Max Kui, distinction. Jingmu Deng. Doris Dean, merit. Elena Do. Marco Ferriol. Hannah Jones, merit. Vladislav Mikolyuk. Kate Nguyen, merit. Tanvi Patel. Barun Shetty. Anirudh Tanwar. Kaila Taputu, merit. An Wu Tran. Elena Yang and Wei Su. Congratulations, well done.
Wonderful to have the Swiss help us out with the English pronunciations. But I'll just get you to confer the graduates of the Bachelor.
I'd like to ask the graduates from the Bachelor of Applied Hospitality and Tourism Management Level 7 to come forward for the presentation of your degree.
We have split the degree students in three based on when they finished their degree. The first intake is the ones they finished in April 2021. I would like to ask to the stage Florence Doe, merit. Blaise Higginson, merit. Sophie Jing. Tracy Lee, merit. Peter Nguyen, merit. Amy Simpson, distinction. Vinuri Velgama, distinction. Sidonia West, merit. From the students that finished the degree in July 2021, Adrian Blatt, merit. Jesse Brooks. Jason Bowie, merit. Benjamin Faulkner. Simon Foster. Emma Françoise. Abubakar Fernachewala. Kyle Godden, distinction. Caitlin Guccio. Lini Liam. Cheyenne Lil Andrews. Daniel McKenna, Merit. Scott Maxon. Farron Nell. Voracek Zahayarak, Merit. Vishal Shetty. Demi Silmenoinen. Ralph Viegas, Merit. Nairi Ward, Distinction. To the last group, these are the students that just finished their courses this week. July 2022. Aman Anand. Sophie Orko, Distinction. Hannah Begg Smith. Lily Bendy, Distinction. Renee Bennett. Anne Bryan, Distinction. Christian, Merit. Dana Edwards, merit. Riley English. Callum Evans, merit. Neil Gandhi, merit. Leo Ha, merit. Oban Heath, merit. Henao Iduhu, merit. Anthony Kim. Varun Kuzmandi, distinction. Rachel Liu. June Liu. Kevin Meneses, merit. Anthony Nguyen. Andy Nguyen, merit. William Nguyen. Caitlin Nickel. Brooklyn Shikogalik with distinction. Laura Spears, merit. Eric Tran, distinction. Harry Wiffen, merit. Bruce Su. Following students graduate in absentia: Nero Hu, merit. An Bao Wu Kau, merit. Dan Nguyen. Yesaya Putra, distinction. Bhavya Sharma, merit. Amanda Sen, merit. Thea Bui, distinction. Jason Donaldson, merit. Jason Duong. Sean Lin. Amika van der Broek with merit. Jay Pardeshi, merit. And Jackson Zhang, merit. Congratulations to you all. Have a good party tonight.
Could I just ask Siddharth Baijal to come and assist with reading of the names? Just read the citation out there.
I'd like to ask the graduates of the postgraduate diploma in Hotel Management Level 3 to come forward for presentation of their diplomas.
Thank you. Good afternoon all. The following are the students who are receiving their postgraduate diploma in Hotel Management Level 8. Karishma Balsara. Anush Balsara. Karan Doshi. Abhishek Henry. Jay Jinwala. Priyanka Karmakar. Ayan Mukherjee. Vashali Bijur. Siddhish Prabhu. Dishant Rana. Gwendolyn Rodriguez. Pratik Shankar. Ayushma Shrestha. Shreya Surendran with distinction. The following are the names in absentia. Nania Ganapati. Heen Trang Nguyen with distinction. Nihal Sawant, Nikita Sizik, Rohit Velakar, and Jinlong Wang. Congratulations, postgraduates.
Just read out the citation here for the Masters, Peter. That's level 9.
Level 9. We'll get the number right this time. I would like to ask the graduates of the Master of Hotel Management, Level 9, to come forward for presentation of their diplomas.
It is with great pleasure that we are able to award the PIHMS Masters of Hotel Management qualification to 2 graduands this year. In acknowledgement of their efforts, I will take a moment to share a brief overview of their research before welcoming them on stage. Shailaja Bandari. The research Shailaja undertook explores the utilisation of artificial intelligence for customer service in the hospitality industry by examining how perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, and perceived enjoyment are related to customer purchase intention for customers using chatbots on hotel websites. The study makes several theoretical contributions to the literature of automated system success with regards to customer support by utilising the concepts of consumer preferences and behaviour to further explore consumers' willingness to accept artificial intelligence systems for customer support. Better understanding the relationships between factors examined during the study enables automated customer support developers to make better customer support systems and to improve consumer experience and organisational efficiency in the hotel industry. It is with great pleasure that I welcome Shailaja on the stage. In absentia, we have one more master's student, Adam Berman. Again, in recognition of his efforts, I will read a short overview of his research. The research Adam undertook explores the perceptions of migrant workers in New Zealand's hotel industry by examining how the perceived racial climate and how perceived racial ethnic microaggressions in the workplace are related to migrant worker turnover intention. The study makes several theoretical contributions to the literature of human resource management with regards to supporting migrant workers by utilising the concepts of employee perception and workplace environment to further explore the factors influencing employee workplace satisfaction. Better understanding the relationships between factors examined during the study enables managers and organisations to reduce staff turnover and to better support migrant workers who make up a significant proportion of the hospitality industry. It's a shame you're not here, Adam, but all the best.
Thanks, Mike. You can leave. I'll keep you up here, Pete. It's time for us to acknowledge the following hotel groups and and other organisations for their continued support of PIHMS and their generous commitment towards PIHMS students. Without them, there's nowhere for our students to go. Accor Hotels, Intercontinental Hotel Group, King and Queen Hotel Suites, the Millennium Hotel and Resorts, the Scenic Hotel Group, Sky City Hotels, Sedima Hotels. So thanks. I have a bullet point there with nothing behind it, but I presume it's Craggy Range. So now it's time for the commencement of the special awards. So I'd like to have Peter do this. So this first award is the Matthew Warner Lead by Example Award. Matthew was a former student at PIHMS who unfortunately passed away. We thank Matthew's parents who supported the development and donated this award. So I'll have Peter announce the Lead by Example Award winner for July 2021.
The award is granted or presented to Kylie Gooden.
There's a prize for Kyle as well.
And what?
Just give that to Kyle as a award. Have a photo with Kyle.
This is the same award, but a year later, and it's awarded to Milan Asher.
Do we have a PIHMS Leadership Award? Our next award is the PIHMS Leadership Award. The PIHMS Leadership Award winner for July 2021.
the PIHMS Leadership Award, Kylie Godden. Get a photo of both of them somehow. I'll move the other way. There you go.
Thanks, Kylie. It's now that I'd like to announce the commencement of the Ducks Awards. The Ducks Award is awarded to the top student in the cohort and who have achieved an average of 80% or higher in all subjects of the entire program. For the presentation of the Ducks Awards for July 21 to 22, if I can invite Lisa, if she's still here, to the stage to present those awards.
And the winner is Nairi Ward. So, same award for the following year. And the winner this time is, drum roll please, Anne Bryan.
It's now time for the Postgraduate Diploma in Hotel Management Ducks Award, and if I could invite Mr. Nguyen Van Tung to the stage to present the award.
The winner is Hiên Trang Nguyen.
That brings us to the conclusion of our presentations and awards. I'd like now to invite the student president, Hinau Udahu, to the stage to deliver the vote of thanks and the student's president's speech.
weird. I usually have a guitar in front of me when I'm on stage in front of people. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can I just say, to start off, how honored I am to be standing in front of you all today. My friends, my classmates, my family, my academic adjudicators, and all our invited guests. On behalf of the graduating class of 2022, I would like to thank all our families for bringing us into this world, raising us, supporting us, and helping us achieve this significant milestone in our lives. I also want to give a special thanks to the faculty and staff for the education, influence, and guidance along the way. You've shaped many great leaders that this world will come to know, and country. Especially I'd like to personally thank 3 people who have been my rock and my glue, keeping me together at this school and sane. This is Mr. Jason Tairafiti. Ms. Moana Manu. And Mr. Siddharth Bajal. Thank you. My friends. I'd also like to thank you all, my friends, that are graduating today. It's crazy. In this industry, you make the most unexpected friends. I'll tell a story. First day at PIHMS, walked into reception. I thought I was the last person in, and I heard someone talking behind me. I turned around, there was this really old guy standing. And he was like, oh, I'm actually a student. And they said, oh, what's your name? And he goes, oh, Adrian Blood. Yeah, he's quite old. But this guy's become one of my best friends, and he's helped me through a lot here. Thank you, Adrian. Now, as I look into the crowd, I see the beauty of people from a variety of cultures and nationalities, all gathered here to celebrate our accomplishments. We're also diverse and different from one another, from tall to short, big to small, pretty to really pretty, and to the rest of us. Anyways, with all our differences, we're all here in the same goofy gowns, receiving the same qualifications, and we get to share this one last moment all together before we move on to our different walks of life. And despite where we've come from and where we're going, this place is something we'll always share. So graduates of 2022, I'm so ecstatically proud of you. We've experienced a senior year like no one before us, and I pray that no one after us will ever go through. So in the blink of an eye, our lives changed. We've suffered and are still suffering from the ruins of this invisible killer. But we adapted, we overcame, and became the unstoppable group of individuals graduating today. Our lives transformed, with many of my fellow internationals being unable to visit home as we usually could. Job opportunities reduced for the industry that we've trained for. And it's no secret that the world is very different to what we have been used to. We've learned how to make the most of every moment, how to have fun within our own company, and how to utilize hope as a means for growth. A few weeks ago, I sat with Mr. Bajal and I expressed my fear of going into the world and leaving what has been my home for the last 3 years. And he just said to me, it's okay. It's all right to be scared. If you're not scared, then you're overconfident. And that's just not good. While confidence is good, overconfidence sinks the ship and will drown you in the sea of reality. So be scared, because this means you're about to do something brave. And when you're brave, you take risks, because only those who play win. Risks can lead to great victories and defeats. And even if you're defeated, the lesson will be valuable for the next stage in life. I want you all to remember that your success is not defined by the opportunities that you're given, but is defined by what you make of them. Graduates, you're all destined for greatness, and each and every one of you have the potential to change the world. You have all grown into powerful, intellectual individuals who will leave a massive footprint on this earth. So tables turn, bridges burn, you live and learn. And oftentimes it's the journey that teaches you a lot about the destination. As we part ways equipped with this priceless knowledge, we embark on a life sure to be filled with challenges and success. And my advice to you, strive to be the best version of yourself, fly through the turbulence, and smile in the face of adversity. Be phenomenal or be forgotten, because my friends, you can only go as far as you let yourselves. Graduates of 2022, we made it. Congratulations.
Lisa, if I could just ask you to come to the stage to receive a small gift from the student president and a thanks. Kia ora. Thanks, Inel. Before I announce the conclusion of the proceedings, I just would like to draw your attention to my left and right to the carefully handcrafted puti puti harakeke, beautifully done. Big thank you to Mahina Rangi, Stevie and Selena for all the work you've put into these wonderful creations. I can't imagine the endless hours of foraging in the bush to find all those colours, but well done. And now finally, I'd like to invite Kaumatua Hawani Erawata Hapu Apukatapu on stage for the closing address and karakia.
From a Māori New Year point of view, there's going to be a few stars that'll be sparkling tonight. And it's all to do with yourselves and what you're going to be in the future. For a Māori New Year, the real focus, the main focus is to do with future health. Especially to do with not just with yourself, but with your family. That was reinforced by Lisa. Lisa talked about being relentless, but it's also to do with healing. Healing. And part of, from my point of view, part of your job in the future is to be able to take care of other people. But first take care of yourselves. I think that's all I need to say at this point in time. I think it's been a very, this has been very important for everyone here, for all the families who arrived here. So on behalf of Puketapu, I'd like to bring this proceedings, this very important graduation ceremony to a close like this. Ngā whakapapa me tēnei kaupapa mai I te atatū, kia takatū, kia hautū, kia whakatū. Tainō ki te aiai pō, kia ngaro, kia kāpō, kia āpōpō. E rongo whakairi ake ki runga, tūturu whakamaua kia ita, kia u, kia tīna, tīna, Huiarangi, huia papa, huie tae ki e. Te aho mai. Toi te po. O atu mai. Ora mate. Amen.
Beautiful. With that, I'd like to bring the graduation to a close, invite all guests to join graduating students for afternoon tea in the Taranaki room next door. There'll be a photographer set up in the boardroom just off the back of the Taranaki restaurant for any of those that want further photos. So thank you everyone. Thank you for being with us today and enjoying our students and their achievements, and good luck and safe travels.